Alright everyone, welcome to Deep Dives with Dogs. Today we're talking about the sinking of the Bismarck. So the Bismarck is sunk May 27th, 1941. Um, it is, at the time of its construction, the largest battleship to ever be constructed. Now, the Japanese will uh, make that obsolete in that regard very quickly. This is kind of funny. It's just like, oh yeah, our allies made the biggest battleship. No, we did. To be fair, the Japanese built two. So, um, two. They were planning on building more, but things did not work out as intended, you could say. But the Bismarck becomes quite the feared ship by the British. It sinks a very well-seasoned ship, one that was like not necessarily the flagship, but more or less. And so the order is given out by Winston Churchill. He's just given one clear order to all British Navy personnel: sink the Bismarck. That's just their one single order. And they'll manage to, like I said, um, May 27th. But it took a while. The Bismarck, like a lot of things the Germans will build during the Second World War, is a very durable ship there. It takes a lot of hits. Now, it's more, once again, like some more finer German pieces during the war. There are certain internals of it that fall apart that are not able to be fixed on the go, and so it gets stranded out in the ocean. They almost managed to get it back to France. So the idea of the Germans, so they had gotten hit during their original engagement, and they were leaking oil for a while. So they try to make it back to their French port, so they could then repair it. And once it gets into the French port, it basically would have been impossible for the British to sink it, at least effectively. It would have been quite difficult by that point. So, it tries to get back. The British manage to track it down before it's able to get back, and they start hammering it with aircraft, and then eventually it gets surrounded by ships, and they just lay into it for quite a while. So much so that there's reports that the ocean around the ship started to boil because of how hot the ship was getting from getting hit with shells. Because most of the shells just couldn't do anything. They just weren't actually able to punch through the hull of the ship, showing really how thick the armor was, and kind of, well, to be fair, kind of how weak the guns were as well of the British Navy. But for most ships, it would have been fine, but not for something as large as the Bismarck. Uh, but they managed to eventually sink it, and with the failure of the Bismarck, it kind of does, well, just being realistic, it kind of kills any forward momentum for the Kriegsmarine, so it's the German Navy. Um, Big expensive projects like the Bismarck, Mr. Adolf there will see as not very useful. They'll just be a waste of money and resources. So he focuses on U-boat production, and obviously U-boats will be quite the terror in themselves. But if the Bismarck had been able to escape and then was able to wreak havoc whenever it wanted, shipping in the Atlantic would have been quite devastated, maybe even more so than just with the U-boats. Because the Bismarck, while yeah, it's right out in the open, it's not like a U-boat, which is more hidden. With all of the stuff that they hit it with, and how long it took just to sink it when they were a concentrated effort, imagine trying to be a Navy, trying to sink this thing um, with just a single ship or so. It's just unlikely. Now maybe by a little bit later, when the U.S. joins as well. But it would have distracted the U.S. from the Pacific some as well. So then there you go, you cause other issues. So whole bunch of potential issues arise when you have these moments. But who knows? Luckily for the Allies, the Bismarck is sunk after a combined British naval presence. Never doubt the power of the British Navy. But that's gonna do it for this video. If you guys like the video, leave a like. If you have any ways I can improve these videos, leave a comment down below. I appreciate your feedback. And as always, subscribe. It really does help out the channel. Thank you.